Hi everyone, welcome back to Napoleonic Stacking. I am the Napoleonic Stacker, and in this episode we're going to start a new series called World Coin Wednesday. And what I'm about to show you is not necessarily related to stacking, it's more connected to collecting. And the theme of this particular episode will be Axis and Allies, basically World War II theme. Before we get into it, I do want to give a shout out to Silver Wolves. He had commented in my last video, and I greatly appreciate the feedback. He had said basically that he was surprised that I'm not showing more Napoleonic coins. And I basically told him that I can't show my whole collection all at once. I'm going to kind of break it up over multiple episodes. But one coin in particular that he had mentioned was the Angel, and this basically was a coin issued by the nation of Saint Helena, where Napoleon had died 200 years ago. Actually, 2021 is the 200th year anniversary of Napoleon's death, and the Royal Mint basically saw fit to release this coin, and it's an angel standing over Napoleon's grave, and you can see the bottom. It's the gold laurels that would have been on Napoleon's crown, and then there's the symbol for the East India Trading Company there at the bottom. Up towards the top, you can actually see bees, and you might wonder, why is there bees on this coin? Bees basically was a symbol of Napoleon's new dynasty, and it also goes back to the origins of France. So the bee was an important symbol for Napoleon. And then on the front, you can see we've got Queen Elizabeth II. So this is a really nice coin, great coin to commemorate the emperor. I'm glad to have it. And again, Silver Wolves, thank you for the comment. So what you see before you here are coins that either circulated during World War II or shortly after. Some of them have leaders' faces on them from the war, and then others are designed a little differently. As you can see up above, I also have some paper money that circulated during World War II, which I'll show you. Typically, I have a rule. Basically, that rule is I don't pick up coins that don't have precious metal content in them. The exception is if it has some historical context and I can get it inexpensively. So the ones that are silver, I'll tell you, and the ones that are clad or other metals, we'll go into that as well. But right here, I will start with the Allies. This is something we're all familiar with, just the Roosevelt Dime. This is a 90% silver coin from 1961. Roosevelt was instrumental in helping the United States to mobilize for World War II. And without his leadership, it's very likely we may not have won the war. So Roosevelt, very, very key figure in U.S. history and in world history. And after his death, they saw fit to put him on the dime. And part of the reason why they put him on the dime instead of other coins is the March of Dimes organization that he had founded. Moving on, we've got Winston Churchill here. Now, this is actually a clad coin. It was issued by the Royal Mint upon Winston Churchill's death. Winston Churchill unquestionably was the man who saved Britain. He's a hero for the people in the United Kingdom. When many of his colleagues wanted to surrender, Churchill refused. And because of his fortitude, his grit, his leadership helped to see Britain through World War II. Now, this coin is unusual in the fact that it doesn't have a denomination. It actually is a 1 crown piece, which is Britain's old style of currency, but it doesn't actually say that. And because of Churchill's popularity, this coin ended up in the pockets of many people in Britain, and many people in Britain still carry these as a pocket piece today to honor Winston Churchill. He and Roosevelt, again, were very, very critical for their leadership to winning the war. And an unusual piece we've got old Joseph Stalin here. This was issued by the nation of Czechoslovakia to honor Joseph Stalin's 70th anniversary. And Stalin basically loved this coin so much, he carried one as a pocket piece. It was actually one of the very few coins that actually carried the image of Joseph Stalin. And I believe there was the 50, and then there was also a 100 koron, I believe is what it's called. And these circulated in Czechoslovakia and also throughout the Soviet Union. But Stalin was very partial to this. And of course, his impact in World War II, as terrible as a person as he ended up being, his leadership helped to see Russia through to victory. And you can see here we've got all three of them together. Whoops. Let's see if we can get this one here. We're not any glare. Additionally, we have the Chinese. Now, the war against China began years before World War II actually began. The Japanese had invaded Manchuria. The Chinese offered very little resistance, and the Japanese were able to absolutely just dominate them throughout most of the war. And this is an example of a Chinese 20-cent piece. And also, as far as allies goes, this is a 1 peso coin that was issued by the United States government whenever we had control over the Philippines. The Philippines actually used to be a territory of the United States of America. And on the back, you can see it has the territorial seal of the United States. This was issued in 1908. This is actually one of the only coins that was issued by the United States for a territory that has our logo on it, or seal, in a peso rather than a dollar. Now, the reason why this is significant, during the war, when the Japanese decided to invade the Philippines, many of the Filipinos, they prefer to carry paper currency versus silver and gold in their pockets. So they kept their silver, they kept their gold in the banks. And when the Japanese came to invade the islands, many of the banks took their silver, these very coins, and dumped them in the ocean, basically to keep them out of the hands of the Japanese. And many of the coins that you see today, these 1 peso coins, have kind of a shipwrecked look, just because they were dredged up from the ocean. But that was one thing that the Filipino government did to try to protect themselves and to protect their wealth from the Japanese. So, getting into the Axis, let's move Joseph Stalin over here. So we'll start with Japan. This is a Japanese 10-sen piece, which I'm guessing is very similar to our 10-cent piece. This was issued somewhere between 1875 and 1906. If you can read Japanese, let me know. And then on the back, you can see it's got the Imperial seal on it. Very, very beautiful coins. Japanese silver, for whatever reason, is pretty hard to come by. Here's a 1922, so this absolutely could have circulated during World War II. It's a 50-sen piece, and a very beautiful coin. On the back, it's got the seal of the emperor there. And Japan fought very fiercely during World War II. They were determined to win at all cost, and we know how it turned out. Taking a look at Italy, this is a silver Italian lire. It's a 5 lire, and you can see this was a 1929, issued during fascist Italy. Benito Mussolini was in power, and Hitler was actually a fan of Benito Mussolini, and what he was doing in Italy, Hitler to some degree wanted to replicate in Germany when he rose to power. So Mussolini was looked up to by Hitler. And then you can see on the front here, you've got Vittorio Emanuele III. He was actually the king of Italy, and he was complacent in allowing Benito Mussolini to rise to power. You can see here under the eagle, it's resting on the Roman fascist. And basically, the fascist was a symbol of power and strength in Rome. Basically, a bundle of sticks with an axe through it. Moving on to Germany. Germany issued, after the death of Paul von Hindenburg, a commemorative 5 Reichsmark coin. And basically, you can see here, this is the image of Paul von Hindenburg. It was issued in 1934 and circulated in Germany throughout the war. It stopped being produced in 1939 after the war really kicked off. And you'll notice here how there's not really any Nazi iconography besides the eagle, which is a symbol of Nazi Germany. But the Nazi symbolism was very mild here. Now, leading up to the Berlin Olympics in 1936, the Nazi Party jumped into high gear trying to Nazify everything. And in late 1935, they had decided to basically change up the reverse on these coins. And you can see here, this is a 1937, how they've changed it. Still 5 Reichsmarks, still has Paul von Hindenburg on it. And basically, they wanted the people that came to the Berlin Olympics to basically see and know who's in charge, who put all this together, where the power lies. And, that was part of the branding shift in 1935. Last but not least, as far as our coins go, this is actually a coin issued in Vichy France. And you can see on the obverse, this is actually the symbol for the Vichy regime. On the back, this is a 2 franc piece issued in 1943. And this coin was actually produced in aluminum. It's extremely lightweight. The Vichy government didn't have a whole lot of resources to put into coinage, especially precious metals. In fact, most nations during World War II debased their coinage in order to be able to fund the war effort and to use silver and other precious metals in other applications. But this particular coin, this is from Vichy France. And after Vichy France helped the Allies basically to in North Africa, Germany finally swept down and fully conquered the whole of France. So this government was more of just a puppet state to the Germans. Some of the paper money, the Japanese government, after they had seized the Philippines, issued a 100, well, they issued multiple denominations, but this is a 100 peso note issued by the Japanese government. This is something that circulated during World War II, 100 pesos. And as time went on, as the war effort started turning for the worst for the Japanese, they started really taking advantage of the resources in the Philippines. They hyperinflated the currency, and the Filipinos had a homegrown currency that they used instead of the Japanese paper notes that were produced. But you can see it actually is designed to look very much like a U.S. $100 bill, because historically they had used money that the United States had issued. So this would be something they're familiar with. Taking a look at the next piece here, this is actually a 5 Reichsmark note. So this has the same value as the coin here. which are made of silver. This particular note was issued in 1942. Reichsmark note. And you can see here on the back, it's got some nice artwork there. I don't know if that's Potsdam Church. I'm not sure what building that is, but pretty neat. And finally, we have our Imperial Japanese currency here. This is a 5 yen note. And the Japanese, their money and their paper money, their coinage is absolutely beautiful. I love Japanese artwork. And then my best friend and coworker also is obsessed with Japan and Japanese culture, Japanese style. But just absolutely beautiful note. This is an example of something that also would have circulated during World War II. With that concludes our first episode for World Coin Wednesday. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave me a comment in the comment section. Like, share, and subscribe. If you have ideas on what you'd like for me to do next, please also put that in the comment section. And until next time, Napoleonic Stacker signing out.